What is up? Today I hit Plat 1 with Speedroids. I played some of this on stream, but I ended up finishing it off stream today, right after work. Just got on ladder and climbed and started tearing through everyone. Been waiting a while to play this deck in Master Duel. It's very, very fun. One of my favorite decks in the TCG as well. So I'm glad that we got our new support. Now I will get into the deck list and show some replays off. Speedroids are very much a combo deck that focus on getting out a lot of powerful synchro monsters like Barone and Crystal Wing. The deck has a lot of different extenders that allow you to play through multiple interruptions to get to the end board that you want. It has several really powerful cards in the archetype that can allow you to get through those interruptions and punish your opponent for making any small misplays. As a result of this deck not being too common in the TCG or even the OCG, not many people know how to play against it, so they'll often just hand trap the first thing that they see, so you can easily bait out a lot of their interruptions. Let's go into the card by card. The boy himself, Terratop, the best starter in the deck. If you don't control any monsters, you can special summon it and then search any Speedroid monster. Obviously, this is the one you want to open up in every hand if possible. He is limited to one because of other decks, not because of Speedroids. There are other decks that used to be able to spam or abuse rank 3 Xyz monsters. So hopefully someday it'll get unlimited so we can play 3 of it. Maybe with an errata that locks you into wins. Terratop is an amazing card and your best starter. We have Marble Machine, also one of your best riders. This one requires your normal summon and also searches another Speedroid monster. The big weakness of this one is that it is a pendulum, so that when it leaves the field, it goes back to the extra deck rather than to the graveyard, so you can't bring it back with Speed Recovery or Yo-Yo or any of your other revival tools. So that kind of holds it back, and that's why I'm not playing 3 of it. Being level 2 is pretty nice, but yeah, being a pendulum is not the best. Paketomborg, one of your best extenders. All you have to do is control the wind monster, then you can special summon it, and then tribute it to special summon one Speedroid tuner from your deck. That's any Speedroid tuner. So it should be obvious that this card is very versatile. One thing to note is that the effect to special summon a Speedroid tuner from deck is not once per turn. The restriction is just that you can only special summon Paketomborg once per turn. So you can, for example, normal summon it, activate to bring out a tuner, then bring it back, special summon it, and then activate the effect again to get another tuner. That's a very powerful card. Then we have Den Daiko Duke, level 3 tuner. I play 2 of this because it is also a great extender, though you do want to get it in the graveyard, so it can banish itself and then special summon a Speedroid tuner from your hand or a graveyard, which comes in handy. It also doesn't target, which helps, in that your opponent may not be able to stop it. I play 2 of them because you want to go through one of them turn 1 if possible, and then having another one for follow-up is great. For extenders, Card Turbo is also one of the best ones, since it can special summon itself from the hand. It also lets you OTK very easily, since it can boost all of your wind monsters by 800 attack till the end of the turn, which can pile on massive damage and kill your opponent very quickly. It's also a tuner, by the way. So, level 3 tuner. Ultra Hound, one of the best normal summons in the deck. It's a 1-card starter. The deck has multiple 1-card starters, so Terratop obviously is one of them. Marble Machine is, but I like Hound better as a 1-card starter. Because you can send, on its normal summon, you can send any Speedroid card from deck to graveyard. So Duplicate's going to be one of your best targets, since it can special summon itself as a tuner. And then that gets you into Rubber Band Shooter and starts your plays. So I play 3 Ultra Hound. It also does have a nice follow-up effect like on the next turn, except the one that was sent to the graveyard. And then you can special summon a Speedroid Synchro from your extra deck. Let's continue with the Speedroids first. So I have Double Yo-Yo. This is a one of. I wouldn't play more than one of this, because you do search it in the middle of your combos if you can. It lets you revive any level 3 lower Speedroid monster, so that includes the synchros like Cork Shooter. So usually you're going to try to revive your Terratop and then get You'll have 2 bodies on the board, and then you also get your terror type effect. Very nice. Piper is one of the new cards added in the Beyond Speed pack that just released. This one is a walking pot of prosperity. So if it's normal, special summoned, and you control other wind monsters, you can excavate and add 1 card from your deck up to the number of other wind monsters you control. So you can excavate in any card. So even if you excavate like a Call by the Grave, you can add that. There's no restriction on it. It doesn't have to be a Speedroid card, which is really awesome. We have Rubber Band Plane, which is it's also a level 4 tuner. So you can both special summon it from the deck with Taka Tamborg, and you can summon it from your hand or graveyard with the Duke. It's one of your best ways of getting into Barone. So if you get like Stardust Charge Warrior, that's level 6 plus 4 equals 10. That gets you to Barone. That's just one way to do it. Yeah, very good. I would just play one of this as well. Rubber Band Plane, it's another extender. This one is a little different. It special summons itself from your hand when you special summon another monster, or if another monster is special summoned to your field. So for example, if you get hit by Nibiru or something, this is one of your ways that you can actually play through it, which is very helpful. The fact that it's level 5 is also useful with Hound's follow-up effect, since you can get back your summon a Shenbara on the follow-up or Goida. I do like to play one of this. Red-Haired Hasty Horse is a really good extender. It's not a Speedroid and it's not a machine, but it is a level 5 wind monster that can just special summon itself to any zone that doesn't have any other cards in its column. So one of your best going second plays is to special summon Hasty Horse, and then special summon Card Turbo, and then go into Kite Drake to nuke your opponent's entire field. This will force out any of their interruptions. We have Red-Eyed Dice. This is another Speedroid card. So this one is very interesting. It does let you modulate levels. So if it's normal special summoned, you target 1 Speedroid monster except Red-Eyed Dice, and then declare a level from 1 to 6. You're not rolling for it, you choose the level. So this can help you get into, well, any of these. You change any other of the Speedroids to level 6, you get to a level 7, or you can change them to level 2 and get to your Crook Shooter, which is one of your key playmakers. There is an argument for playing more than one of this, because, for example, on Wheel, this is one of the luck-based elements of the deck. If you roll a 1 or a 2, you might need 2, but I find that that doesn't come up too often, so I just like to have 1, because I don't really want to draw it. Next we have Mecha Phantom Beast Tetherwolf. This is a level 4 wind machine. It's not a Speedroid card obviously, but when it's normal summoned, you can get another wind machine token. So that makes it a 1-card starter since you can go into Rubber Band Shooter. Also it becomes level 7 when you do this, so you can, for example, summon a Card Turbo from your hand and then go straight into Barone early in your combo, which is very helpful. So I do like running 1 of Tetherwolf. I don't know if I would run more than 1, because in general these other cards do tend to be better normal summons, like Hound especially. But it is a nice one of. You can also special summon it from deck with Auroradon, which comes up in rare situations, but yeah. For other Speedroid cards, we have Speed Recovery. This card's absolutely bonkers. It's a not once per turn reborn, which is good enough by itself, but even on the follow-up turn, you can return one of your Speedroid cards or monsters in your graveyard to your hand. That's also not once per turn, by the way, so if you use multiple Speed Recoveries in your first turn, you get multiple back in your follow-up turn. Absolutely amazing. Obvious 3 of in this deck. Next we have Speedroid Wheel, one of the other new cards in the Beyond Speed pack. This one is one of the main luck elements in this deck. You do have to discard 1 card, but that's usually fine. As long as you don't roll a 1, you're pretty much good to go. Sometimes rolling a 1 is fine as well, to be honest. So I do think the card is really nice. It can get your play started just by itself, and then, again, it's yet another extender if you're getting hand-trapped. So I do like Wheel. Despite the luck element, you're generally fine regardless of what you roll, unless you have like a very bad opening hand. Duplicate, this card is extremely good as well. It has an ability to revive itself as a level 1 tuner, although this is once per duel. So I'm not going to run 3 of them. But it's also a, if you draw it in your hand, it bounces any of your opponent's cards, which is very useful as a different form of interruption than just having boss monsters on your board. Helps you play through cards like Forbidden Droplet. It also lets you out cards like Skill Drain that can be problematic. So for non-archetype tech cards, we have 3 Maxi, that's obvious. I think it's mandatory, especially in this deck, since you have a lot of cards that you do want to draw into that can help you play through your opponent's board. Triple Ash, because you want to stop your opponent from maxing you, because you are special summoning quite a lot, as you can imagine. And double Called By for the same reason. Now, these 3 spots are definitely the most flexible of them. I ended up settling on 1 Harpy's Feather Duster and 2 Droplet. There are definitely other cards that you can run here that would be perfectly valid. This is just due to what I was running up against on ladder. So originally I was playing Triple Tactics Talent. If I can take that out. This card is extremely good in Speedroids. Unfortunately though, with how many Eldlich I was going up against, it's kind of useless in that matchup. So I ended up putting in 1 Harpy's Feather Duster and then Droplet. It's not useless against Eldlich. It's not the best obviously, but it's okay against Eldlich, and then it can also work against Virtual World, Drytron, and those types of deck. So I ended up playing with 2 Droplets. But as I said, this is flexible. There are other tech choices that you can play, which I will talk about a little bit later. Let's go to the extra deck. Cork Shooter, one of the new cards. It's really good Synchro Tuner. That's level 3. It has 2 effects. If it's Synchro Summoned, you can revive both of the Synchro materials. That's what you're using most of the time. But it also has another effect that lets you add in a Speedroid spell or trap from your deck to your hand. So that's going to be Duplicate or Wheel. Unfortunately, Speed Recovery does not count as a Speedroid card because Speedroid is not in the name. I'm guessing they did that on purpose. But you can still search Duplicate and Recovery. Or, sorry, Duplicate and Wheel. Most people do play 2 Cork Shooter. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I found that in comparison to everything else that's running in my extra deck, I do like to have all of those other options. I found that they come up more than a second Cork Shooter, but you can definitely play 2 of them. It's a very good card, for sure. We have Rubber Band Shooter. This is the most important card in the extra deck, in my opinion, because as long as you can get to this, you have plays. If you get to Rubber Band Shooter, you have Barone or Crystal Wing. You can do something. And it just requires any 2 wind monsters, which is extremely flexible. You definitely have to play at least 2 of this, because this is a choke point for the deck sometimes. You can get hit with Imperms or Veilers pretty often. And having it for follow-up is nice as well. Rubber Band Shooter is also the reason why it's important to have like multiple level 7s, for example, since that's usually what you're going to be banishing one of your level 7s, because it lets you search either Yo-Yo or Terratop. It's picked randomly, but you're fine regardless of which one you get. So yeah, Rubber Band is like the most important card definitely in the extra deck. As far as other Speedroid cards go, we have Goita. This one's very important. This lets you get end boards like double Crystal Wing or Crystal Wing plus Baron, because it can special summon itself. It synergizes well with Cork Shooter, since Cork Shooter is a level 3 tuner and Hagoita is a level 5 non-tuner synchro. It also has an additional effect, which you can sometimes end on this card. It'll increase the levels of your opponent's monsters, or all monsters on the field, which can disrupt them if they're playing like an Exceeds or Synchro focused deck. Very important to play one Hagoita. Shanbara, I definitely think this card is basically mandatory. Not only is it an additional level 5 for Rubber Band Shooter, it also hits really hard and can allow you to OTK your opponent very easily. So just Shanbara plus Rubber Band Shooter with the boost from Card Turbo is exactly lethal. That's 8,000 damage, which comes up more often than you would think. It also has another really nice effect. If it's sent to the graveyard in any way, you can target one of your banished Speedroid cards and add it to your hand. This is especially great because usually when your Speedroids are banished, they're gone. You don't have many ways to get them back. It's basically just Shenshen and Agoida. Sorry, Shenshen and Shenbara. It's very nice. I definitely would recommend having one. Stardust Charge Warrior. This is one level 6 name. Lets you draw a card, which can come in handy, especially when you want to get additional interruptions for your opponent's turn. I think it's pretty much mandatory to play this. Juju is optional, but I think as far as your other level 6 names go, it's one of the best ones. I do think having two level 6s is nice because you're gonna... It's like the second most common level that you're banishing. Like most of the time you can do 7, but level 6 comes up fairly often as well. But on field it's like pretty nice. It's like somewhat hard to get rid of, at least it can't be destroyed by battle or card effects. And then it can also is a form of spot removal. So I do like playing Juju. But of course it's an ultra rare, you don't have to. You can play like other level 6s if you want to. When Pegasus Agnister, this is one of the best level 7 wind synchros. Oh, my cat just jumped on my chair. Hello. It has a nice graveyard effect that your opponent is probably not going to read. So if you, for example, synchro into Wind Pegasus and then synchro climb into Baronne, if your Baronne gets destroyed, you can remove any of your opponent's cards and just shuffle it into the deck. And I'm like 90% sure that they aren't going to read it. We can go into our boss monsters pretty much. Crystal Wing, this is mandatory at 2, because there are going to be quite a few times where you actually aren't able to get to Baronne, but you can get to double Crystal Wing, so I would definitely recommend playing 2 of them. Yeah, it's an ultra rare, it's rough, but I mean, too bad. It's an extremely good card. We have Kite Drake. This card is absolutely bonkers. It's just a one-of, but when it's synchro summoned, you can either nuke the entire field or negate the effects of all of your opponent's face-up cards. So this is guaranteed to force out any interruption that they have. And even if they do, like say they hit it with like a Solemn Strike or something, it has a floating effect. If it's sent to your graveyard, just while in your possession, it doesn't even have to be properly summoned, it just has to be sent to your graveyard, then you can add one Speedroid monster from your deck to your hand. So for example, a common going second play that's really awesome is Special Summon Hasty Horse, Special Summon Car Turbo, Synchro into Kite Drake, nuke their field. If they negate and destroy it, then you just search Terratop, and now you don't even control any monsters, so you can just Special Summon Terratop and start your plays from there and bait out more interruptions. So Kite Drake is really, really awesome. And I pulled a Prismatic / Royal, whatever it is, which looks pretty nice. Love this card. Shenshen. I would say this card is pretty much mandatory as well. There are going to be quite a few times where you can only go into a level 9. It's kind of hard to explain because like how non-linear this deck is. You just kind of have to try it out and you'll see for yourself that there are going to be a lot of times where you want Shenshen. Not only is it a nice way of recovering your banished monsters, it's one of your only 2 ways. It also, it's just a nice floodgate. I mean, it's not too complicated there. A lot of decks don't like their cards being banished when they would be sent from the field to the graveyard. And of course, the chief boss monster of the deck and in the new Beyond Speed pack is Baronne de Flora, absolutely mandatory, of course. This is what you're going to be trying to end on as much as possible. It's an Omni Negate, it's a pop, it's a reborn. What more can you ask for in a boss monster? Baronne is absolutely amazing. Love this card. Yeah, I don't have too much more to say about it. It's a no-brainer. And it's a wind. Yay. Conveniently. Clearwing Fast Dragon. There are a couple level 7 winds that you can play, like Wind Pegasus is one of them. Clearwing Fast Dragon. There's just a Clearwing Dragon. I think Clearwing Fast Dragon is a lot better. Because like in the event that you do want to summon it, sure you're going to be banishing it most of the time for Rubber Band Shooter, but if you do want to summon it, it's the most flexible. Like Clearwing, regular Clearwing Dragon, which I'll talk about a little bit later, you don't even get to use the effect too often. But this, anytime that your opponent has an extra deck monster on the field, you can negate its effects and change its attack to 0, which means you can also use it during the damage step. So I think it's pretty nice. I like Clearwing Fast Dragon. Then we have, we already talked about Rubber Band Shooter, of course. You have Auroradon. So I know that I'm not playing O-Line in the deck. I am aware that's not a mistake. I don't think you need to play O-Line in the deck to be playing a Rodan. It's a nice extender even if you just get interrupted on your rubber band shooter. You don't need to be able to special summon another tuner from deck for it to be good. It's nice in that it can non-targeting destroy an opponent's card, it can out-skill drain, it can recover your duplicate, which comes up sometimes. This is a really good card to have as an interruption. So Rodan lets you recover it. And yeah, it's just a nice card. It gives you more bodies on the board to excavate cards with Piper. So I do like Rodan in this deck. I don't know if I would call it mandatory, but it's like pretty close to mandatory. Though if you do want to play like 2 Cork Shooters and cut the Rodan, that's perfectly fine. You can do that. This is just my personal preference. Next I'm going to be talking about some of the other possible tech choices that I think are fine to run if you want to. It's up to personal preference. First we have Primitive Butterfly. This is also conveniently a wind, and it can special summon itself if you don't control any monsters. It can also increase its level to 6, which can allow you to get into, for example, Barone early on. Personally, I don't play this because I find that it conflicts with Terratop too often, since both of them require no monsters to special summon themselves. So I do prefer playing Hasty Horse, but there are some situations where Butterfly is definitely better. I wouldn't play any more than one of this if you are playing it though. We have Win. This is a pretty great searcher. It is unfortunately an ultra rare, but allows you to search any other wind monster with 1500 or less defense from your deck. Like that's it, like any wind monster. So obviously this gets you to basically any of your starters, including Terratop. You can even search Droll if you want to play that in your main deck. So it's pretty nice. I don't like that it's kind of goes a little too minus for my taste. Like if you get Astron, this feels really bad as opposed to other cards. But I mean, you can. It is a nice consistency booster if you want to play it. On a related note, I'll talk about Scratch, I guess. I know this is another card that a lot of people are playing, and you're probably wondering why I'm not playing it. So the thing is with these consistency cards that if you want to make the most consistent deck possible, you can play 3 of each of them. So you'll play 3 Wheel, 3 Scratch, 3 Win, but you're losing out on tech slots when you do that. So if I play these, I'm not going to be playing Forbidden Droplet or Feather Duster. I might even have to cut Ash or Maxi, and I don't think that is acceptable for me. I think the deck is plenty consistent without these cards. Scratch is nice and all, but having to send a Speedroid card makes it, I think, worse than Win, definitely. It's not like bad or anything, though. It also gets you to Terratop. So you can play it if you want to. Next we have Godarla, the Wind Kaiju. Due to the restriction on Cork Shooter, it's not really viable to run any other Kaiju besides the Wind one. Because Cork Shooter, the restriction on it says that you can't special summon monsters during the same turn except Wind monsters. So that means before and after you use its effect. And Cork Shooter is very important to resolve. So I would definitely play this one if you're playing any Kaiju. Kaijus in general, though, I just think are pretty overrated. Like, if you try to hit Drytrons, for example, with the Kaiju, you still have to play through 2 Orange Light. You're still not going to be winning that game. They're just, like, low impact, relatively. And if you're going against Virtual World, completely useless. Okay, you Kaiju their VFD. You just gave them a free monster to attack you with on the next turn. You're still not playing the game. So, I don't think Kaijus are very good in general. But you can play it. Crossout Designator. It is, again, it's okay if you want to stop hand traps. If you're running into, I don't know, a lot of Nibiru's. I ran into that a couple times, but not many. I don't think it's worth it, honestly, because every time that you're starting to play like 1 or 2 of a bunch of different hand traps, you're decreasing your chance of opening like the ones that you want, like Maxi, for example, or Ash. I want to be able to play going second. This card's pretty bad going second. It's only good going first. So I don't play Crossout Designator. You have to build your deck around it too. That's the other thing. Goes to match. This is a very nasty tech card that you can play. You can definitely play this in this deck. But again, it's kind of the same issue as Crossout. It's only good going first, so it is like very good going first, and can shut down a lot of different meta decks. But yeah, I would like to be able to go second, so I don't play these cards personally. In the extra deck, if you want like a super rare replacement for like Shanbara, I guess. If you don't want to bother pulling an ultra rare, you can play Hama. It can also OTK, it attacks twice. It's a wind synchro, so it is pretty hard. I think it's an okay card, but I do prefer Shanbara. Now for the cards that I think you should avoid. For one, we have the Wind Witches. So they are an archetype that have been played with Speedroids in the past by some people before we got the new support. But they have like a pretty big restriction on them in that Ice Belch is one of the key ones. You can't special summon from the extra deck during the same turn you activate its effect, except level 5 or higher wind monsters. And since Rubber Band Shooter is a link monster, it doesn't have a level, so it directly conflicts with Rubber Band Shooter, which I think is way too big of a downside to justify playing these cards. For the extra deck, we have Clear Wing Synchro Dragon. I think this card is pretty mediocre. It's a level 7 Synchro. I guess if you don't have any others, you can play it, but I think this card is significantly worse than Fast Dragon. Like, if you just read the effects, it's just needlessly restrictive. Like, once per turn, when another level 5 or higher monster activates its effect on the field, you can negate the activation. Okay. And then when a monster effect is activated that targets one level 5 or higher monster and no other cards. Like, it's needlessly restrictive. The card is just not good. Crystal Clear Clearwing Synchro Dragon. This is one of the new cards that you might be interested in playing, but I really don't think it's worth it. It's a level 10, of course, but it is harder to make than Baron because it requires a tuner Synchro monster and one non-tuner Clear Wing. So you basically need a level 7, one of these level 7s, this one, or Fast Dragon plus Cork Shooter, which makes it needlessly hard to make. And the effects aren't that cool. Like, it negates the spell or trap card. I mean, that's cool. That's not terrible. But it's not unaffected by monster effects. It can make itself unaffected by monster effects. It's weird. It's not that great of an effect, personally, I think. Floating effect is really good, though. When it's destroyed or it's sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card, you can add any wind monster. That's an extremely good floating effect. That's by far the best thing about this card. But I find that Baron is better in 99.9% of situations. Rider. I love this card personally. It's a very cool card. It's very fun. Does a lot of damage. And it's basically the epitome of what Speedroids are about. But I think it falls in the category of cards that are win more. That's what we call them. They're cards that don't help you win. They just help you close out a game if you're already in a winning position. Like, you're not going to be able to make this normally unless you're already in a good position. But if you're in a good position, I'd rather make Baron or Crystal Wing, regular Crystal Wing, because they're much safer. And, I mean, yeah, it does a lot of damage, but you have plenty of ways of doing damage. You have several high attack monsters. You have Card Turbo to boost them as well. So I think this card is very unnecessary, but it's fun. I mean, you can play it if you want to have a good time. Then we have Cosmic Blazar Dragon. I've seen this in a couple Speedroid builds. This is just not worth it by any means. It's Baron, but significantly harder to make. The other effects, the other things that it can do, which is like negating a summon and negating an attack, that's cute, but I'd just rather have Baron on field. It also banishes itself for no reason. Yeah, this card basically requires you to run Puzzle, and I think you also have to run Martial Metal Marcher in your extra deck. It's just not worth it. Just too much investment for too little payoff. And it loses to the exact same stuff, like Droplet, Kaiju's even. So yeah, just don't play this card, please. That's what I got for the bad tech cards. I guess next we can go into the replays. As always, for the first replay we have the basic game plan, which is what you aim to do going first. So here I've opened Terratop, which is always nice. So I'm going to first search Marble Machine, and then Normal Marble to get Takatomborg. Takatomborg goes into the dice. That'll change Terratop to level 2, which allows me to go into Corkscrewder and then revive both of them back again. Since the combo line kind of depends on your hand, you'll kind of see how that comes into play here, because I have Speed Recovery and 2 additional extenders. I'm going to try to hold on to the extenders if possible, just in case I hit with like a Nibiru or something. Go for Goida. So I did make Corkscrewder level 5 earlier, because I want to go into Baron. Go for Recovery to get back the Corkscrewder. And then Goida brings itself back because I control the Speedroid tuner. And that gives me Crystal Wing. Then I just set Call By and pass. No need to overextend here, so I want to have follow-up in case something goes wrong. He's playing Drytrons, he goes for Zeta first, a negate. So I want to cut off his access to the ritual spell. So I have a Called by the Grave in case he happens to hard draw Ben 10 or something. Diviner, that's an easy negate as well. He can't do anything without his ritual spell. And he just passes turn because he can't do anything. It's back to me. Just grabbing some more bodies here. It's not really necessary. I could just special summon Hasty Horse, and then just need to get Card Turbo in the graveyard. Give the boost by 800 for everything, and that is well over lethal. That is the basic game plan when you're going first. Now we have the basic game plan going second, going up against Eldlich. So I'm going to set up 3 interruptions here, including a counter trap. 2 counter traps, sorry. So I'm going to lead off with Terratop once it gets to my turn of the special summons. He negates with the Eldlich Knights, which is a counter trap. Then I go for Takatomborg to bring out the Duke. Now I'm going to go straight for Juju because I want to force out another one of them. So right when I summon it, he goes for Promenade to negate it, so I can't get rid of his counter trap. Then I go for Recovery. He doesn't read it carefully, so he negates it, but this one returns it to the hand, which is a terrible idea because Speed Recovery is not once per turn, so you've just wasted your counter trap. So you're just trying to bait out your opponent's negates, because most people just don't know how to play against this deck. Corkscrewder, let's revive him back. Gonna make a Hound level 6 so I can go for Ignister, because it can pop a 1 Speller Trap. Just clearing his board, so he has absolutely nothing in case he somehow survives. Then I pitch Duplicate, which is fine. I roll a 1, which is, this is one of those situations where my only level 1 came up, because I didn't have anything to summon, so I just take 500. It's unfortunate, but it's not the end of the world. I still have Duke. I can still go into Rubber Band Shooter and continue my plays. So even if you do have that happen, it's not that big of a deal usually. Duplicate to reduce its level. We can go into Auroradon because I didn't use the other effect of Rubber Band Shooter to normal summon, so I'm not locked into Synchros. Here I'm careful to summon 1 in attack. I can just go for Kite Drake and just go for lethal damage here, which we definitely have. So that's how you win going second. And now for something a little more tricky, we're going second against Drytrons. So here you need to be able to open up your extenders or have droplets. So in this case I have Max C, which luckily resolves. This gets me my extenders. In this version of the build I wasn't playing droplets, I was playing talents, so you can kind of see the usefulness of that card too. As I said, there are like a few text slots that are pretty flexible. Fortunately, I'm not drawing into any hand traps, which would just be Ash for me. My opponent goes for a little unusual line. He's going for Don Dragster. Don't think there's any good reason to really play that. It's whatever. So I start out with Primitive Butterfly. Oh, yeah, forgot to mention this is also a build where I was playing Primitive Butterfly. So you can see this is one of those games where it came up pretty nicely. It's level 6 now. Here I go for Wheel to bait out his Don Dragster. Not a good negate because I believe it negates activations, right? Yeah, so if I had another wheel, I could have activated it. So really not a good use of Dragster. Summon Baron. He, I guess, forgets to negate the summon. So I just attempt to pop it, and that gives me 2 more interruptions out of the way without having used my normal summon stuff. Now we see that he hard drew Eva. I have Call Ball, he doesn't have any more negates left. So I get rid of Eva, which is a big deal. Now I can safely go for talents. And see what he has in hand. And good thing I did, because he has a Nibiru. So I get rid of the Nibiru, and now I'm pretty much safe. Well, definitely safe to combo. He doesn't have anything else. Summon Piper, we can excavate 2, add 1. Can go for card turbo or recovery, either one's fine. Here I banish a level 6, because I already have my yo-yo. This is one of those situations where you would search Rubber Band Plane because you have pretty much all your extenders. I just go for Kite Drake to nuke the entire field, because I know I have lethal regardless. So might as well just clear his field. He has 2 ritual spells in hand. Now I go for card turbo to boost, and that's lethal. Easy clap. Now what happens if the skill is drained? Yes, playing against Eldlich is pretty rough. For obvious reasons. So usually you're not going to be able to win, unfortunately, unless you're taking in cards like Lightning Storm. Or the 1 Heart Feast Feather Dust that I had. He goes to Prosperity for 6. I'm definitely negating this. Don't want him to be able to dig for any trap. The Eldlich stuff doesn't threaten me too much unless he uses them really well. Which he's probably not going to, because Eldlich players are not known for being big brain, exactly. So he flips Skill Drain. Good job. So skilled. What can I do here? Well, I do have 1 out in hand, Duplicate, but can I last until that long, is the question. So I'm going to pitch some XC, because I definitely want to keep the Duplicate in case it comes down to it. We'll go for Kite Drake, try to bait out his any negate that he might have, but it doesn't work. So I go for Kite Drake to try to beat over it. Use this Conquistador, but this allows me to float. And allows me to use Wind Pegasus. This is one of the reasons to play Wind Pegasus over like Clear Wing or most of the other level 7s. So now Wind Pegasus can actually just bounce the Skill Drain back into the deck. So I set the Duplicate. He sets another Golden Land Trap, that's fine. Then he searches the Counter Trap. Okay, at this point I'm thinking, as long as this is nothing, as long as it's just like Hakero, which it is, I'm okay, because now all I have to do is just bounce the Golden Lord back to the hand during the end phase. So you wait till the end phase, bounce it back. Now both of his back rows here are dead. All I have to worry about is whatever his 1 card in hand does. Which turns out to be an effect failure, because apparently Eldlich players are using this now. But that's fine, because I didn't commit to my normal summon. So now I do my actual normal summon with Hound. Send the Duke, which can bring me back my dice. And then start my plays from there. At this point he's only at 5400, I just need to go for like Baron. don't have to go for like a full Kite Drake, nuke the board or anything. I already know his last card in hand is Golden Lord. This is Conquistador or Hokero. This is the counter trap, which is completely dead. Go for Shambara. Pop. Don't forget that effect of Baron, by the way. In the TCG, people forget all the time that it has a third effect, because there's no like glowing thing that tells you to activate it. But yeah, just remember to pop. You get a free pop. Here he goes for Conquistador. I don't need to negate this with Baron. I'm just going to save it, just in case. There's really no need to. I still have lethal. That's how you beat Eldlich. Not always going to be possible, unfortunately, but sometimes you got him. So going first, now we're going up against Trizu, the top tier deck. In matchups like this, it doesn't really come down to whether they can play through your board. It's whether you can recover from it. Because like if they have droplets, they're gonna break your board. It's like regardless of what deck you're playing. But what separates the best decks from the not as best decks is being able to still win even after your board gets wiped. And that's unfortunately where this deck is a little weaker than Drytron, Trizu, stuff like that. But still, this will show the power of the board. If they aren't able to draw cards like Droplet, they still lose, regardless of what deck they are on. Again, worst roll. Worst possible roll. It doesn't let me special summon anything. I just lose 500 for no reason. We go for Clear Wing. I'm keeping the Tether Wolf in hand because it's a, like I said, it's a one card starter. It gets me to a rubber band shooter on the follow up. So he goes for Gamma on the Maxi. I do choose to negate here with Crystal Wing, which is a little greedy. Probably shouldn't have, but it's fine. He's playing Zodiac. I draw the Ash, which is nice. Never punished. As for Zeus, I use my other Crystal Wing. Then he Zeus again, of course, to clear the entire board. So now what I'm afraid of most is Revolt. If he hard draws the Revolt, that's something I'm going to have to deal with now. So I'm going to make use of Hound's other effect, the one in the graveyard. So it'll let me return the Goida and then summon out Shenbara. Now I can just special summon Card Turbo and go for Kite Trick without committing to my normal summon once again. Then here I can even chain block with Shenbara's other effect, which lets me add back my banished Speedroid card. He chains Revolt. That's not going to allow his guy to activate though. But since Shiraig was destroyed in the same chain, it doesn't get to activate. That works. 3, not the best roll, but it works just fine. And Tether Wolf, as I mentioned in the deck profile portion, it becomes a level 7 when you have the token, so I can just go for Baron. Piper to Excavate. Just for insurance. Then we can Card Turbo to boost it up. And that's lethal. For the final replay, I will showcase me misplaying badly, but still pulling it out. Against Numerons. So he trolls me here, which I wasn't expecting. I just summoned Duke. Usually Droll isn't too bad against this deck. I've OTK'd people through Droll before, but in this case I do need that additional search. So I just kind of stop here. He activates the network. As long as he doesn't get rid of the droplet, I'm okay. He goes for his monkey brain play. I make a huge misplay here. Okay, so I do droplet. I'm supposed to send one from hand and keep at least one on the field so that his monster gets destroyed by battle. And so this allows him to go for Appaloosa, which is very easily avoidable. So really, I'm really hoping I draw droplets here. And I'm skilled, so I do draw the droplet, of course. Why would I not? Gates with Appaloosa and droplet. He hits Terror Top with the Called By. Unfortunate. Go for Hasty Horse. He has his own droplet. He does. But his Appaloosa does go to 0. He's going to have to do something different this time. He can't just activate the network, so he crashes Appaloosa. And then main phase 2 will activate it. Then he goes into Underworld Goddess. Unfortunate, because I draw Speed Recovery and Goddess hard counters that. Because it has a negate. So he negates it. But again, as long as he controls the monster, he can't activate network again. So he still can't go for lethal. So now I go for Rubber Band, or sorry, Recovery's other effect to add back one. So now I add back the Yo-Yo. Now I'm going to completely try to bait him here. I don't need this to resolve. Because I have the card turbo in hand. So I summon the card turbo. Go for Wind Pegasus to destroy the network. Then we have Duke to bring back our card turbo. And Barone. And Barone can pop since the wording in Underworld Goddess is that it's unaffected by activated effects unless they target this card. So Barone targets, which means it gets popped. Now during my opponent's turn, I'm gonna just wait until he activates network. This is the bait. If you make the wrong call here, you just lose with Barone. Just gotta wait till he actually uses the effect and sends for cost. Then you negate it, because that effect is hard once per turn. So just be careful when you're negating. So that leaves him with no options when I do that. Fine by me if he ashes that. I still have lethal damage. And that's game. So despite a terrible, terrible misplay, though got it. Speedroid's best deck. That's it for my long-awaited Speedroid guide. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Feel free to follow me on Master Duel. My ID is up on the screen here. And join my Discord. The link is in the description. I'll be streaming whenever I can. I don't have a regular schedule yet, unfortunately, but I do stream on YouTube whenever I get the chance. Hopefully this guide helped you with playing Speedroids. I know it's a very difficult deck, but it is very, very fun. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments or in my Discord. Thanks for watching, and peace.